I give a chance to a new TV series, and it's this one, called... Oh no, how am I supposed to review this? I realise I'm going to have to talk in euphemisms and rhymes, because YouTube is weird and doesn't like any talk or images of lives ending, and just the title of this show could get the video banished, so I'm going to try my best to review the show called... Let's say Those About to Cry. It isn't really, it's actually a three-letter word that starts with D and rhymes with cry. Those About to Say Goodbye is set in ancient Rome around 79 AD, and it stars the famous Welsh actor Anthony Hopkins, who famously played Hannibal Lecter. In this, he plays the Roman Emperor Vespasian, and I'm not sure why nobody is talking about this show, because for once, I watched something new, and it arguably has artistic merit. I didn't think on the whole it was a bad effort at all. It has some big names attached to it, like Hopkins and the German director Roland Emmerich, who did the original Stargate movie and Independence Day. The series has a lot of political intrigue, lurid violence, cavorting and general naughtiness. Sounds pretty good to me so far, and what do you expect? It's set in ancient Rome. And maybe I'm being too nice to it because I generally like the setting. Sadly, if you're wanting something historically accurate, this is probably not the show for you, because even the name of the show, the thing that gladiators supposedly said in the arena, those who are about to go to a fish fry salute you, according to people that actually stood at it, there's no evidence it was ever said by gladiators. Gladiators in reality really even fought to the end of one of them because they were very expensive commodities. It was more like a boxing match with swords. Nor does it appear to be true that the fate of a gladiator would be decided by a thumb up or thumb down. Supposedly, they hired a historical consultant for those who spread their wings and fly, and then they ignored him. If you're going to ignore him, why hire him in the first place? Well, I suppose they needed to know what was actually historically accurate, so they didn't accidentally get something right. If they'd listened to that guy, they probably wouldn't have ended up with a story about ancient Rome that heavily involves diverse women of colour and a giant albino lion, and we couldn't be having that, could we? I can picture the conversation now.
So you're the historical expert?
Yes, that's right. I'm Alexander Mariotti. That'd be me.
So, we are setting a series in 79 AD in Rome. Are there any black gay women we can write our story around, preferably ones also in a wheelchair?
Now you ask, no. The wheelchair wouldn't really be invented for another 1500 years or so, and there's nothing really about black gay women in the life story of Vespasian I can point to at all, really.
Don't worry about that. By the time we have finished, there will be, but there are no problems apart from that.
No, now you mention it, I also, frankly, have issues with the giant albino lion as well.
I don't care. Get your own historical drama, you pansy.
In the series, there's a famous chariot racer called Scorpus, and strangely, he has a favourite horse in this series called Incitatus, which seems to translate as Speedy. In reality, this horse did exist, but it was actually the favourite horse of the Emperor Caligula, some 30 or 40 years before this show is even set, and it's the horse that he, according to Roman historian Suetonius, tried to make a Roman consul. Also, according to some records, Caligula slept with his 3 sisters, but not the horse, which if anything makes Caligula just slightly more normal than the YouTuber Vorsh.
You can write this down. I want to a woman as a horse. None of this is a secret. To be clear, my moral principles are rock solid. Let's talk to a therapist. Well, why do you want to be the horse, Vosh? Because then I'd have a giant dick. I could have a big dick hypothetically in any variety of scenarios, but then it wouldn't really be a horse dick. Well, you could be a human with a horse dick. Yes, but then I wouldn't have that powerful stallion energy.
That clip. I don't even want to believe that clip is real. Keep in mind, his moral convictions are rock solid on this. Of all the things to have rock solid convictions of, he chose this. This is his hill, not human slavery, not FGM, his hill is horse dick. Maybe I'm just too vanilla for 2024, is it just me? I'm mostly interested in women. Human women, not horses.
Those look good. A big salty clam would sure go great with this heat. You want one, Daff?
No!
You see, if more men were like Fred, I feel like women would smile more. Is this Vorsh thing common now? Because it doesn't seem to be where I am. Here we mostly just ride horses, and not in the Vorsh sense. Do I just have my head in the sand?
But here comes the controversial part, the part I shouldn't say. I believe that if I were the benevolent dictator of the world, I would legalize bestiality where you are pleasuring the animal. You see what I'm saying?
Yes, it appears I may have my head in the sand. Will all of you get out of here now, please? I'm fed up of you lot, especially Fred, you degenerate. Like the devil sitting on my shoulder telling me to eat clams. Before I carry on, are there going to be any more interruptions? Maybe Butcher from The Boys, he hasn't crashed one of my videos in ages. No? Nobody else? Marvellous. Maybe I can carry on with my video now. So, Those Who Are a Stand-Up Guy is a series set in ancient Rome and...
I'm better than you, okay? Much better than you. You are garbage.
Yes, thanks for that, Anna. The hurtful part is she's probably right. She actually gets paid for videos and has probably never been that desperate for a topic that she did a video on Dark Side Phil.
Right? You guys need to hear me talk to do a valid gameplay stream.
Those Who Fry with Crisp and Dry has a heavy focus on chariot racing and gladiatorial games, also gayness, so if I was to compare those singing Too Shy Shy to anything, the thing it is most like is the series Spartacus Blood and Sand, just maybe a bit more tasteful. Blood and Sand took the violence and naughtiness and cranked them all the way up to 11, because 11 is more than 10. This series is more like a 9. So it's off to a good start already because I find ancient Rome a very interesting setting and I really like film and TV about gladiators.
You like movies about gladiators?
Yes I do. I already said that. Not now, Peter Graves. Sadly for me, Those Who Live in a Pigsty spends a lot more time on chariot racing than it does on gladiators. It also reminded me a little of early Game of Thrones due to the intrigue and politicking, just maybe not quite of the same quality. This also may be partly due to the character Tenax, who's played by the also Welsh actor. Oh god, how do you pronounce that? I should be able to do this. Theoretically, I'm supposedly part Welsh. I think my best go is Iwan Ffion. If it isn't that, I don't know. Don't get too mad, please, Welshoids. Welsh can be such a calming accent.
Oh, sit down, you daft sod. I got some of that spinach dip. Have you gone Bender?
If you didn't understand that, you may need a Welsh person to translate for you. I did recently find this clip of a young Welsh girl that just cracks me up every single time I watch it.
I'm just Welsh.
I like the expression on her face that's all at once part confusion, part anger and part insulted. If you don't know his name, he was Ramsay Bolton in Game of Thrones. Anyway, in those about to play I Spy, Iwan plays Tenax, who is the biggest bookmaker in Rome, also a bit of a gangster and all-round nasty stabby git. He's kind of a Littlefinger from Game of Thrones sort of character, a dirty tricks merchant, manipulator and general sod. And should you watch Those Who Like Apple Pie, that kind of depends on you. I thought in places it was very close to being excellent. What let it down for me was the CGI. I know doing CGI of animals is notoriously hard, but in places it really stands out, and during the chariot racing scenes the little CGI men on the chariots looked a lot to me like they were made out of Lego, and the writing seemed to get noticeably worse in the last episode. It also isn't free of the message, and in the middle of ancient Rome, really does go out of its way to find some Africans to be the heroes and make the Romans look useless. They also tried to make the show feminist and pro-rainbow people, and I think it's fair to say, Rome wasn't really very feminist. A number of parts even really quite disturbed me. The one that comes to mind most is a young African man who'd been made into a gladiator against his will, and he was being forced to fight a monster of a man. So his mum snuck into the gladiator school and poisoned the monster's wine while he was entertaining a girl. The young man then wins the fight and the show paints it as heroic. Sorry, it wasn't. Your mum poisoned him, and it looks like she did for the girl that was with him as well. Guys, as a general rule, your heroes are not supposed to poison people. And despite the maybe bad name, it has one of the best promo posters I've ever seen on a thing. Seriously, whoever made this may be a low-key genius, because those for whom the end is nigh is all about power struggles. The Emperor is getting old, he's positioned at the top of the image there. His two sons are both vying for power and want to be the heir, and they're reaching up for the golden laurels of the Emperor. The son, who's a general, Titus with his sword, and the cunning politician son Domitian in his robes. In the centre is the character Tenax, who the whole show kind of revolves around, as a power broker, bookie, gangster and general sod, and the supporting cast all reach up towards the power, and the whole image forms a triangular shape with the Emperor right at the apex, and this one image does a great job of summing up those about to play I Spy. Also, in regards to the gayness, I understand that some people may think it's a good idea to look back at ancient Rome and say, look, there were relationships between two men even then. Why do people have such a problem with it now? Sadly, I'm not sure ancient Rome is a thing you should be linking yourself to now for added credibility. Well, the Romans used to do it is maybe not a great argument for why something is ethical or not. If the Romans doing something made it ethical by default, then slavery would be ethical. Feeding people to lions for entertainment would be ethical. It reminds me of when UK Heritage tried to declare Hadrian's Wall to be a gay icon because Emperor Hadrian supposedly had relationships with other males, and they wanted, I think, to say, look, gay men were shaping the UK even back then, nearly 2,000 years ago. The problem is that the most famous of Hadrian's male, let's call them paramours, was supposedly called Antinous, and when they met, Hadrian was, according to the historians, around 45 years old, and Antinous was thought to be around the age of 11. Just saying, lads, you may get some funny looks if you hitch your wagon to Hadrian, even if you quite like the pleasant wall he'd built to keep the Scots out. I can only guess as to how many Romans got head-butted before they finally decided they needed to finally build a wall. I'm just picturing the Roman 6th Legion Victrix, all in their armour and nice skirts, piling up stones, all while the angry Scots look on, chanting the traditional Scottish war cry of "See ye!" I know the Romans are thought of as being cruel, but sending a large group of men from Perugia in Italy to go and stand on the Scots border in a skirt with bare legs to freeze their knackers off is next level. You can only imagine the conversation. Lucio, do you feel like marching into the Scottish Highlands to take their land? Nah, you're alright.
Of course!
If you only knew the power of one, the power of two, the power of many.
Never rub another man's rhubarb.